In northwestern Venezuela, there is a lake where lightning fills the night sky around 300 nights a year. If you enjoy falling asleep to white noise videos of thunderstorms, this might sound like paradise, until you realize it comes with less cozy rain ambience and more high-intensity atmospheric strobe light. The chaos unfolds over Lake Maracaibo, where the sky can unleash roughly 28 lightning strikes every minute for up to 9 hours after dusk. Known as Catatumbo Lightning, this recurring, beautiful, and genuinely dangerous phenomenon happens in one of the most heavily electrified places on Earth. It has guided sailors like a natural lighthouse, been studied by satellites from space, and shaped the lives of the people who actually live beneath it. Which leaves one very obvious question. Why does this exact corner of Venezuela create so much lightning? To understand how extreme this really is, you have to look past the beautiful long exposure photos and into the numbers. Lake Maracaibo is enormous. It covers about 13,200 square kilometers, roughly the size of Connecticut, and after sunset, that vast stretch of warm water helps feed the storms above it. The region records around 250 lightning flashes per square kilometer per year, giving it one of the highest lightning concentrations on Earth. For anyone who dislikes getting zapped by high voltage current from the sky, this is a statistical nightmare with waterfront views. The consistency is the part that sounds fake. Most of us think of lightning as a sudden interruption, a flash, a crack, a storm rolling through, and maybe a power outage. At Lake Maracaibo, the lightning returns so often that it becomes part of the identity of the place. For generations, stories about this region sounded exaggerated. Then satellites started measuring the storms from orbit, and the numbers backed up the legend. The storm was real, it was repeatable, and long before scientists were mapping it from space, sailors were already using it to find their way. For centuries, sailors crossing the Caribbean looked toward the interior of the continent and saw a bright, flickering beacon on the horizon. The lightning became known as the lighthouse of Maracaibo. Most lighthouses are built out of solid stone, thick glass, and burning fuel, but this one was constructed out of moisture, wind, and raw voltage. It was a natural navigation marker visible from extraordinary distances, operating entirely on its own power grid. So why does this much lightning happen here, in this particular location? The answer starts with the shape of the land. Lake Maracaibo sits in a basin, surrounded by mountains on several sides and open toward the Caribbean. During the day, the tropical sun heats the lake. Warm water adds moisture to the air. Humid winds move in from the Caribbean, carrying even more fuel for storms. Then night falls. As the air begins moving through the basin, it gets pushed toward the mountains. With the mountains blocking the way, the warm, wet air rises fast. As it climbs, it cools. Clouds build higher and higher over the lake. Inside those clouds, water droplets and ice particles collide, building electrical charge until the atmosphere finally snaps. That snap is lightning. At Lake Maracaibo, the ingredients keep lining up: warm water, humid air, mountain walls, and evening winds. Put all of that together, and Lake Maracaibo becomes a natural storm engine, one that starts building electricity as soon as night begins to fall. Viewing this spectacle from a distance can give the illusion of a peaceful, almost silent light show. Thunder is usually only heard within about 10 miles of a lightning strike, so from farther away, the flashes may arrive without the sound you expect. That can make Catatumbo Lightning seem strangely calm from the shoreline or across the lake. But the lightning itself is anything but harmless. The system produces a lethal mix of cloud-to-cloud flashes and sudden cloud-to-ground strikes that regularly strike the surface of the water. Local fishermen often head onto the lake around dusk, when fish are more likely to bite. Unfortunately, that is also when Catatumbo Lightning begins to build for the night. Many families live in stilt house villages built directly over the shallow waters, and daily life can require long boat trips for work, food, and fuel. From some villages, reaching a fuel station can take 2 hours one way, which turns a basic supply run into a 4-hour gamble across a lake famous for lightning. The modern scientific community has managed to figure out the basic recipe for the Catatumbo storms, but the real challenge has shifted to a much more difficult problem. Meteorologists can often predict standard weather a few days in advance, but forecasting exactly how volatile this massive lightning system will be across entire seasons is an entirely different puzzle. The lightning may be famous for its consistency, but it still changes with the seasons. Some months are more active, while drier periods can be calmer. That is why a seasonal forecast matters. It could help local fishermen choose milder nights, plan long trips for fuel, and avoid the most dangerous cycles of activity. You cannot stop the storms from forming, but you could tell a fisherman when it is a terrible idea to launch a metal boat into a target zone. And every evening, Lake Maracaibo begins the cycle again. For centuries, this corner of Venezuela has glowed through the night, guiding sailors, frightening fishermen, attracting scientists, and turning the horizon into one of the most electric places on Earth. Catatumbo Lightning feels impossible because it takes something familiar and makes it behave in a way we almost never see. A thunderstorm becomes a landmark. A lake becomes part of the weather machine. A beautiful view becomes something people have to plan their lives around. And night after night, the sky over Lake Maracaibo lights itself back up. So the next time a storm rolls through your neighborhood and the lights flicker once, remember the lake where lightning can return after sunset again and again and again. And if you want more stories about the strange corners of Earth that feel impossible until you find out they're real, click that subscribe button. There are plenty of strange places on Earth left, and some of them apparently come with their own built-in strobe lights.